Hey everyone, how y'all doing? Welcome back. What are we doing today? You don't see any model on here, do you? No, not at the moment, but whoops. We are continuing the build on the Focke-Wulf Fw190A excuse me, -8 version of this by Canopy 1/72 scale. That's what we're continuing. This doesn't quite look like it. So where is it? Well, I have it over here because I'm doing a little bit of painting on it. And I figured while I'm at it, I might as well spray paint my little Spitfire here that I bought for $5 just because. But that's not what we're doing. We're building this little guy. Now, he might look a little bit different than what you remember last time. And that's because I was going to paint him. I did the dark gray across the top here, okay, and then I was going to mask it off and do in all the light gray. But then, as I got to doing this and getting ready to mask it off, I figured out that doing it the opposite way is going to be easier. So I spray painted this whole thing, the lighter gray. I've got my darker gray that's going to be the contrast to it right there. And what I did was I just cut a sheet out of the instruction manual and did a little bit of a template. And then I've cut a whole bunch of little holes to do the camouflage pattern. Okay, because like I've said many times, I don't use airbrushes, and so I can't spray a tiny little, just a little dot with the spray can, right? So my plan, I'm hoping this is going to work out, is to lay this down. I actually go like this through the tail wing, like that, and lay this down kind of like this. I'll put masking tape down to hold this, and then I will spray the dark over top like that. That's my plan. So, but I need to get some masking tape, and we'll try this out, and we'll see how it works. I don't need a whole lot of masking tape, but I am going to need a couple of strips. So, I got a window that's not open, that should be open. There it is. Yeah. Get a couple of strips ready here. So I'm not going to need a lot of masking tape, but I am going to need some. Some? Yes, some. Woo. So how I want it to sit is going to be a big factor. I guess I am going to have to put a little bit of masking tape along here to hold this down, because I don't want to paint the underside dark gray. So, another thing I don't want to do is paint the wings. So, I'm actually going to have to put some masking tape down along the wing here, because I don't want to actually paint the wing. So I could just do this. Is this wide enough to go across? Not quite. So I'm basically just picking a line. I really am just kind of making this up as I go along. It's not too much rhyme or reason to it. So there's that side. Okay, now I think that's kind of a good spot for it, like that. that piece of tape to be that wide. So trim it, and then use this to kind of put it in its place here. Like that. And that's kind of how we're going to do it. That's going to be my little template for painting. And basically just go across there and call that done. I would like it if I could get it a bit tighter in there, but can't ask for perfection. So I do want to mask off this wing because I know overspray is going to get along that, and I don't want to paint that wing. So just do this, and that will protect it from there. And I think I am going to, I don't know. See, in the instructions, it shows painting the wings like this, right? They want it dark green. I'm not doing green. The pictures I've seen online, I don't want to do green. But at the same time, I don't really see much of the wings online, so maybe I just do a combination. Maybe I just let those, I'll let the dark gray go on those, on the tail wings. Good enough. So another thing I don't want to do is I don't want to completely spray underneath this. So because this is just sitting on there, I'm going to spray at kind of an angle like this on it so that it doesn't go underneath from this side. So that's the plan, right? You always got to have a plan, and that's kind of the plan. And now that I'm talking about that, I want to mask off this wing, the rest of this, just to make sure. And then I will have to let it sit and dry for a minute. Although I'm doing the coat kind of light, so I don't think I'll have to let it sit for very long. So, okay, so there we have it. So there's our dark gray. Let's see how this is going to do. Okay, let's turn to a table here. Alright, so that's done. Nice and gray. So I'm just going to let that sit for a minute or 5. And let that at least get tacky before I do stuff. I just want to, I got things to check out here. On my other computer. I want to make sure everything's going good. Working on a laptop earlier today, and yeah, laptop for work. I'm just playing around with that. So just a sec here, getting messages. Okay, are you tacky now? Yeah, a little bit. I think that's good enough. So now let's peel this away nice and carefully. Nice and carefully, because I actually want to use this same thing on the other side. So I want to make sure I don't tear it or anything like that when I peel it off of here. Because it did take a little bit of time to cut that all out yesterday. Okay, and there we have our painted pattern. Just like that. I'll show you on this camera here. That's what we got. And that's not too bad. I think that's pretty half decent. So now I have to do the opposite on this side. So I need to peel the tape off of the paper if it will let me. I don't think it's going to let me because I've got, well, maybe it will. There we go. There's one. There we go. Okay. So I need to do kind of the same on this side. Would be nice. Yeah. Okay. So I can use those same pieces to do this side. Careful not to drop the plane, that would be detrimental to what I'm trying to do here. I'm going to have to bend this paper a little bit here. So I'll just do this. So I know it's on that line. Because of the contour of the wing, I need to bend the paper. Okay, that's what we're looking at. So this piece will go along here to mask that again. Now this piece goes here. I'll try and squish it up as tight against there as I can before I put this one down. Have it. Okay. So there's our masking. We're going to do that side now. And so we're going to take this piece and I'm going to cover this wing here. Just like I did before. So I don't get overspray on it. I actually need to do that. Now I want to. I'm tempted to actually mask off this side a little bit because I don't want to accidentally spray on that side or get oversprayed. So I'm just going to do this and just kind of cover this side up a little bit. There. Just in case. I don't want to overspray there, right? So, okay, so now that side's ready to go. So similar fashion, paint on that angle. It's going to be a little bit more difficult because I'm left-handed, but I can get through this. Okay, that ought to do it, just like that. Let's start unmasking. First that side, it's nice and easy to do. this side. Actually, I just want to wait a second. I'm going to let that dry just for 15 seconds or so. I think for the most part, I'm going to leave the wings one solid color. I think. I'm going to have to take a look at the pictures I have here of this plane and see what they're doing with the wings. And it looks like this one anyway. So let's see if I can show you. So this particular one, they've got the light and dark on the wings there, like a kind of a camouflage pattern. So I could try that. What else have I got here? There's this one, and it looks like they're doing the same thing. That light and dark gray camouflage pattern. So you know what? I am going to do that. I will do a light and gray camouflage pattern. Yeah. That's simple enough to do. So now that this has had a... I think I got the paint a little thick, and I might have actually got some running in my paint job. Oh, maybe not. I think we're going to be okay. Let's take a closer look here. Yeah, I think we'll be just fine. So there's our pattern now on this side. So it's basically pretty much a carbon copy on both sides. Now, obviously, I am limited in the size of the holes I could have cut in this paper to get that. I just, you know, that there's the perfect example of the limitations of not having an airbrush, right? Would I like to go and purchase a $200 airbrush kit? Yeah, I kind of would like to. Do I have room for an airbrush kit? Not really. Do I still want the airbrush kit? Yeah, kinda. I kinda want to get into that, maybe. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my felt pen and I'm going to draw pretend wings on here like this. Like that. And then I'm going to go round, round, and I'm going to go round like that and there, and do this, that, and just do there like that, and this. Woo-hoo. That's what we're going to do. That's going to be, we're going to cut these out. And these are going to be the dark gray. There's one. What's nice about this is it doesn't really matter if I follow my lines because it's just a guide. That. Now we got these ones. We're doing what we're doing here. This one. And this little guy here. And finally we get this one. Alright. So now we have our holes. Now, as you can see, that's going to be a problem. So what I'm going to do is cut this in half. So that I can lay this down on the wing like I wanted to. I'll have to bend this up a little bit so that I can get it positioned where I like. I think that's a good spot right there. So I'm going to choose to do that. There we go. There's one. Now if I want, I can do another piece here. But I think I'm going to be doing two on this side, so I don't think I need to bother. That should work like that. Both main wings done. I think I do want to do one maybe here or maybe here. So what I'm going to do is I can actually utilize one of these and do that. But first, now you notice I've got the rear wings are already light, already dark, so I need to hit them with a lighter gray. Actually going to be different. I'm going to cut them out so it's a little bit easier to manipulate these pieces. So I can do that a little bit easier. Because of the location and how small they are, I want to protect the rest of the plane from overspray. Just because of where they're located. I don't want to inadvertently paint the tail fin or anything else. So there's the tail fin, or tail wing, one of them. So I'll do the same on the other side. Where are we here? There you are. There we go. Just like that. Now, as I said, I want to put one right here. So I think I will just make a new cut. This. I want it to be kind of narrow, and I want it right up close. Maybe even closer. That'll work. A little too much weight on the paper. Alright. So I think that works good like that. Again, make sure I don't accidentally overspray the fuselage. Hold it. Okay. That's good enough. One little hit. There we go. There we go. So we got the extra one that I just did right there. So there we go. So we've got our camouflage now on there. That makes that done. What do we got next to do on this thing? Let's see. I'm going to take the tape off of... This is right? Yeah. For a second there I got my lids mixed up. But they weren't really mixed up. I just thought they might be mixed up. Okay, let's see. Got masking tape in the cockpit. I gotta pull that out of there. All right. And I have to put our propeller on. That's gonna sit. Oh, isn't that interesting? So this piece that I put on there, that's actually going to fit in that hole, and that's a little bit too tight of a fit. Doesn't want to go in the hole. So let's see. Is a little too tight. I wonder why they chose to make it almost precision fit. To me, that just seems kind of detrimental. There we go. All right. Propeller's still going to spin. Yeah, it will. Good. So I'll throw some glue on there. Don't need a lot, just a little bit. Go. That's sit for a minute. And somebody sent me a message. Check my message. Okay, so next we have the canopy to go on there, and we were choosing the -8 canopy as opposed to the -6. I liked the -8 just because it's a little more rounded and aerodynamic looking, and that's why I went with the -8. There's that. Put the forward piece. See, the -6, it's just, that line is just straight, right? Just, where this one, it's curved. And yeah, well, curves are cool. I got lots of them. Unfortunately, I did a terrible job at getting this piece off of the sprue, and I got lots of white in there. I would love it. I'd love to see somebody in the comments tell me how to fix that. When you get a clear piece off of the sprue and you get that little bit of white on it when you take it off of there. I get that every time, and I'm not exactly sure. I know I can say, instead of trimming it right against there, I can take it off of here like this, right? And now I'm left with that piece that needs to come off. And maybe, let's see, let's try cutting it. A lot more work, obviously, to do it like that. But even at that, I still have that little bit of white right there on that edge where that was connected. It's better. It definitely looks better than this piece, because I didn't do that with this one. But how do you clean that up? How do you solve that problem? That's what I'd like to know. For you guys watching this on YouTube, I would love to know. Leave a comment down below. How do I fix that? How do I get rid of that white that appears on the clear pieces when you take them off the sprue? That is something that has plagued me, oh, I want to say my whole life. So that is just going to sit right there, like that. So what I don't know is which way it goes. So I'm going to have to test fit this first. Let's try that. Just kind of hold that there. Put this on. Looks like that's the way it's going to go, just like that. They haven't really given me any lines to go by as far as how this would be painted to get the bars on there. There's like no detail. And my limited knowledge of World War II planes so that there are probably bars going right down on each corner where it comes over. You've got your glass like this and the glass like that. Almost guaranteed there's a metal bar there. Alright, so going back to my original thoughts on what I'm going to do about the fact that this plane is basically in flight, and you're looking at that and there is no pilot. Now remember, I'm going to be displaying this along with this guy, and they're in the middle of a dogfight, and this guy is going to be behind him, and he will have shot him. And I'm thinking of possibly having some smoke coming off the back of this, getting some of that poofy stuff. What's that poofy stuff called? Like pillow filling stuff. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. I can't remember. It's on the tip of my tongue and I can't think of the name. Anyway, and having some of it come off of his like it's smoke. And I was kind of thinking of maybe painting the inside of this glass a super light gray to say, hey, there's smoke in the cockpit, right? And that's why you can't see him. With this one, Butterfingers, with this guy, I love that, how smooth that is. That's cool. There's not much I can do. I could pull this off of here and spray it with, you know, black and just say, or even silver or something, and just say, hey, that's the way it is. But this guy, I was thinking, you know, maybe his cockpit is full of smoke and that's why you can't see him in there. Maybe. I don't know. I still haven't decided, so because I haven't decided, I'm going to leave this off for now. I might just save that for last and put that on after. I think now is probably time for some decals. I do have a limited amount of decals that this thing came with. I'm kind of disappointed that it doesn't, you know, for a German plane, and in every picture I've seen of this thing, it's got a swastika on the tail fin, but there's no swastika decal. So that's a little bit disappointing. But, you know, what am I going to do about it? I'm not going to make a swastika decal. I'm not that hardcore. So yeah. Let's see here. I'm going to get my little water tray and we will start putting the decals on. So, I will be back in a minute. Okay, so we want number 3 on the top of the wings. That's one thing. These are different sizes, so that's interesting. Number 3 is actually these white ones. I suppose if I cut these little L things out enough, I could make swastikas out of them. That would be funny. Be like, I really need those swastika decals. But I don't. It's not that important. So, yeah. So those are going on the wings, on the top. Then we've got number 1 goes on the underside, and we got number 2 on the sides back here. Number 2 are nice fat ones. Along with the I and the 5. I don't know if it's supposed to be a 1 and a 5. How are we doing here? Oh, we're just about ready. So I am going to I'm going to be using this Tamiya Mark Fit Super Strong to make sure the decal sits down. Now, if you remember on previous video, I purposely bought this thing just to test how decals sit down and how to use this stuff. And I found if you put some of this stuff down first, like so, where are we putting you? We're going to put you right here. Put some down first, just like that. And we grab our decal, and we put the decal on. There's my tweezers. Put the decal down over top of it. That's the best way to do it. Put that decal and sit that how I want it, just like that. I think that's a good spot. Now we're going to let that dry. Meanwhile, we have the other decal, and that's going to go in a similar spot, just on this wing. Put that aside for a second. Get this guy ready to come off of here. Set this guy on here in our little puddle of Mark Soft, whatever, Mark Fit. And we want to have them kind of lined up the same so they look the same and not crooked. A little further forward here. There we go. So just like that. That's how we got them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that dry probably for, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. And after that, I'm going to go over top of it with the Mark Fit. And that really helps shrink that thing down. Oh, another thing I forgot to do. It's been a while. Take my Q-tip and just kind of squeeze out all the stuff that's underneath of it. Because I found if I don't do this, I will get bubbles underneath the decals. That's because this stuff basically, it causes the decal to shrink. Is basically what it does. But as it's shrinking, if you've got water bubbles underneath of it, as it shrinks, it can't shrink down to the plastic, so it stays up in that little bit of a bubble. And that sucks. So I found if I roll the Q-tip over it and squeeze out any water that's under it while it's shrinking, it comes out pretty darn nice. And yeah, in my little testing I did on my Spitfire here, I had a decal here that was all super wrinkly and looked like crap, and another one that was the same. I took that one off. I tried a different technique. And it worked out pretty good. I had a couple of German things here and here, and I tried that with the Q-tip underneath of them, and they just came out flawless, and it was really good. So that is my new technique for putting decals on. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I do now. And of course, I talk like I've been doing it for a while now, but it's really, this is my second time. Something like that. Okay, so I got to determine exactly where this great big guy goes here. And I just realized, so it's going to go right in line right there with this little hole. Right there is going to be the middle of that plus sign. So, once again, paint some of this on there. You don't need a lot, just need a little bit. One thing, I saw a video on YouTube watching, you know, trying to figure out how this stuff works and why people use it and whatever, what it's for, all that good stuff. And yeah, I forgot where I was going. I lost my train of thought there. I literally did. Oh, YouTube video, this guy was trying this stuff out, and he really warned against putting this stuff over paint, that it will eat your paint. Now, I have not had that. I purposely put a lot over the paint that I use, and I didn't have a problem at all. It didn't eat the paint away. So, with that being said, I didn't purposely try to brush enough on to make the paint, you know, to see how much it would take to make it eat. I didn't sit there and just go and keep painting this stuff on. All I did was, I think I have this one crooked, but I think I'm screwed because it's already starting to, it's already set there. So I think I got a crooked decal. There's not much I can do about that. See, this one looks pretty good. It looks like that. It's fine. But this one is crooked. At least to me, that's crooked. It is. I can see the panel line going up the middle of it, and it's crooked. Shit. Shit. Well, I'll just make him a little more damaged on that side. Maybe you got a couple bullet holes there, so it's not so noticeable that it's crooked, right? That's the way to do it. Hide the mistakes with battle damage. So we got number 13. I'm so used to American aircraft having like number designations on the tail fin, and this thing doesn't. In fact, there's only one decal, and it goes on the one side. They don't even point it out on this side, but that's okay. I didn't notice they got a stripe that goes around the tail on there until just now. It's far too late to do anything about that. The 5s are ready. Fives go in front of this. Go in front of the plus. Just like that. Get bubbles out of it. Like so. This side. Grab this 5. Looks good like that. bubbles out of it. There we go. I really do love this stuff. This mark fit, it really makes the decals just suck into the panel lines. And it works fast too. Like, I do have the Mr. Mark softer. I have that too. I actually bought that one first, but then after I bought it, I saw the video on this Tamiya one, and in the video the guy tries out 4 different brands of decal softener and tests them all. To see which one works the best. And he wound up liking the Tamiya one the best. So what I did is, on my own personal little test I tried it with the Spitfire first. I put it on the Spitfire. Then I used both. Leave my glasses off for this because I am having a heck of a time getting it to line up. There. Okay. So I did this. It's actually a leftover sheet from my great big helicopter build. So I took this decal sheet, and I took this decal, and I took that one, except from here, and I put one on each wing, and then I used on one side, I used the Mr. Mark softer, whatever it's called, and on the other wing I used the Tamiya. And I found pretty much the same. I didn't really find any difference at all between the two. So, whoop-de-doo, they're the same. I just happen to be using the Tamiya one because, well, why not? Right? They both do the same job, so why not just use them both? Use one over the other. I don't really care. I'm using the Tamiya. Okay, so now these two have dried enough. I am now going to put a layer of this over top of them. And all I need to do is just kind of wash it over and do it on both of them. And that's it. So first, from what I can tell, basically you put it underneath and that kind of sucks it down. Sucks it down to the plane. Then you put it over top, and that kind of helps it squish from this layer, this side of the decal. Now, I mean, let's say in theory here, you're magnifying the decal 400,000 times, and now the decal is as thick as my hand. I've put that stuff underneath, and I've laid the decal down, and it's eating the decal underneath to suck it down. But it's not doing anything to the top. So then afterwards you put your layer on top so that can eat it down to suck it down more. That's my theory on how it's working. I could be completely wrong. That's possible. It's known to happen. It happens often. Very often. Too often, in fact. But that's what it is. Okay, so how are you guys doing? We are ready to go. So you guys are going under here. Underwear? I made you say underwear. Yeah, because I'm an immature little kid. Okay, so he's got to be lined up with this line here. That's easy enough to do. let's get some of this on here. Let's get these out of the water. That's a good spot, just like that. Okay, next side. Perfect. There we go. So now we'll let those dry. I've got a couple other detail decals I could put on there. A bunch of shit I can't read. They've got some kind of little heart designation thing that I guess is specific to this particular pilot or whatever. I don't think that's really necessary. I think as far as decals go, that's good enough. Can you tell that I'm not all that concerned about getting super crazy detail on a 1/72 scale? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm going to dump out my water, so I'll be back in a minute. How are we looking here? See, it starts working really fast. Like, you can already see where it's made the decal a little bit. It's wrinkly, but it's not. See, on the top here, it's nice and smooth now that it's dry. But this one still, it's working, right? It's doing its thing. It's what it's doing. It's doing its thing. That's basically going to make it finished. No more instructions required. What I need to do is get this guy looking like he's been beat up. We're going to need that. We're going to need that. And we might need that. Yep. Don't need pigments. So what I have here is by AK Interactive. Basically washes. Basically an oil wash. This particular one is called Kerosene Leaks and Stains. And what's pretty cool about this is they always show you on the side basically what it can look like, or an example. This one is Rust Streaks, and there's an example of what it looks like if you want to make some rust streaks. As you can see, I haven't shaken it, so it's looking very orangey. And this one is Engine Grime. This one does have a picture of, yeah, it looks like the side of an engine block, but it can't really tell what's going on in that picture. But yeah, Engine Grime. So I figured I'd use kind of a combination of these on there. Maybe get some of the Engine Grime going back here in a few spots. I also have the panel line accent color to highlight all the panel lines. And that's always cool and always fun. But first things first, finish up with these two decals on the wings. Oh, and these decals on the sides too. I forgot about these. Did I do over top of these pluses yet? I don't know. It doesn't hurt to do multiple coats. It's just I don't think doing more than one on the top really has much of an effect. If it doesn't get it on the first try, I don't think it's going to get it on the second or third or fourth. I guess it can only shrink so much, I think, is what the issue is. Okay, so we got to do some panel line accent color. I'm going to do that first, and I'm going to use the black. Figure the black will be nice to contrast, especially with the dark gray. I got the Tamiya gray, but as you can see, it's a little darker than the normal gray. So I added some black to this to make it a little bit of a darker gray. But basically because I didn't even know that Tamiya made a dark gray. So I made my own dark gray. It's like 3 weeks later I happened to be in the hobby store and saw they make a dark gray too. And I was like, fuck. But anyway, I don't think this is going to be very much use on this light gray color. It's because this gray is already kind of a little bit dark, so I'm going to use the black. And yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. I am going to switch my glasses up here. So that I can keep them on and still see. Do have to be a little bit careful, so I'm just going to hold it by the tail fin. One thing I have yet to master is getting the panel lines to actually go over top of a decal properly. I don't know if it's my technique that is limiting that, or what. I've seen, guys, they just actually cut the decal, so the decal physically has a line through it. I don't know if that's the solution I'm really looking for or not. I suppose it's an option. Hold you like that. Can't believe how many guns are on this plane. I can't imagine just how much, like how many bullets this thing carries. What's the payload on this plane? It's crazy. I've gone just a little overboard with my panel line on this side, wow. But that's okay. Because basically this plane is going down and crashing anyway. So it doesn't really matter too much. What's that Shania Twain song? That don't affect me much. No. Wrong. Not quite the lyrics. I will say this, sometimes you get panel lines that just, the paint just flows down them, and it's just, it's a beautiful thing to watch. Like that, that's pretty cool. Just watch that. And then you got other lines where it just doesn't want to fill up at all. Sometimes it's pretty cool. You can get panel line where you watch the paint start to run through it, and you just kind of wiggle the brush a little bit, and the paint just continues to flow down that line. Again, it's a pretty neat thing to watch. Okay. And that's pretty much it for the panel lines that I'm going to be doing on this. As you can see, there's lots, right? Lots of little splotchy blots that I've done on there. But that's okay, they're going to get cleaned up. Let that sit. I've seen guys, they let that dry for like half an hour or more. And I don't know. I don't think that's really necessary. to let it dry that long. But anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to add some streaks and stuff. And so I want to use, I'm going to start, I think, with the engine grime. Now, unlike the American P-51s and the Spitfire, you got distinctive exhaust pipes on each side, right? And that's nice and easy to tell, and you can see that's where the exhaust comes out, whatever. I'm not seeing a super definitive, like this is where the exhaust comes out on this plane. It might be here in this panel and this panel, maybe. And because of that, that's where I'm going to paint this. So this stuff is nice. See, this is actually kind of a brown color, engine grime. So I don't actually like that. Kerosene stains. It's a much darker color. I like that better. It's a little bit more close to black. So I'm just going to take this, and because this stuff smears good, I'm just going to, because it's a wash, so it kind of, it's not super, it doesn't cover super crazy unless I really want it to. And so that's what I'm just going to do here. Just kind of wash it over a little bit there, like that. And I'm going to do this also over all these guns. All these gun barrels all need to be a nice dark color. Now I know that the gun barrels, they should be like gunmetal color. Don't hate me for doing this with these. I'm basically doing this because I'm doing it like this because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter whether I actually painted these things gunmetal or not. So I'm going against my own rule of doing things the way they should be in doing this. I'm just doing it because it's, at the end of the day, nobody looking at this model is going to look at it and say to themselves, why are the gun barrels not gunmetal color? Ain't nobody going to say that. Nobody's going to give a shit. Ever. In fact, I'm willing to bet if I didn't even paint the gun barrels, nobody'd say anything. Nobody's gonna say anything because you got no friends. What? That was not nice. Why'd you say that? Because it's true? Shut up. Anyway, I'm rambling. So, what are we doing here? This guy's got a bunch of stuff there. I want to do a few, maybe just do like a couple of streaks there, and maybe one here too. I don't know what this panel is, but maybe this has some grease in it. I'm going to, maybe got some leakage coming out of there. Who knows? I don't know. Let's go underneath. Underneath our plane here. Maybe this is something significant and has a leak. And therefore this side does too. I think these things are going to have smoke that comes out of them from the guns being fired. And so we can do that. And there we go. I think that's probably good enough. I don't think I need too much more. Maybe I actually want to do a little bit of streaking. So what am I doing? Why am I just ruining this like this? Well, I want to add some streaks. Now the nice thing about the paint thinner, that's going to clean that all up. So that may look like crap right now, but the paint thinner is going to clean that up as I start to kind of wash it away a little bit. I think that's probably good enough. There's not a heck of a lot of detail that I can do on this thing because the panel lines are the panels are small, and yeah, the panels are small. And therefore not too much to do. Streaks on here just because it's looking a little too clean. Alright, so that's it for that. I think what I want to do is add a couple of streaks, especially along the panel lines. You might be wondering, why am I doing so much? Well, because I want it to look old, dirty, used, for lack of a better term, worn, that kind of thing. That's kind of the whole point, right? And I find myself, I have a tendency to not do enough weathering, and the planes don't look old enough. They don't look used enough, or worn out, or beat up, or whatever, right? For example, my little Mustang here. Yeah, I can see all the panel lines. But this, other than showing a few panel lines and a little bit of, you know, smoke coming off of there from the guns being fired, there's not a lot of weathering on this plane. Yeah, got the decals. I've made them a little bit, you know, worn out a little bit, you know. But other than that, this plane looks like it's in pretty pristine shape, right? And I want to make this one actually look like he's in rough shape. So now the next step, once this paint is dried, especially that one, I gotta let that dry. I'm gonna let these dry, and then I use the thinner. Okay. Some of this stuff is already dried. I'm going to have to get going here. But before I go, I'm going to show you a little bit of what I need to do. So let's go to the underneath here. So you see this kind of stuff here and all these little things. So I'm just going to take my brush, dip that in the thinner, and then I'm going to pretty much dry it off. And that will allow me to just clean up these panel lines the way I need to. Now, in cleaning them up, I'm not letting it clean up 100%. So I get a little bit of streaking and make that panel look a little bit duller than it was. That's perfectly fine. I'm perfectly happy with that. Okay, so let's do this again and I'll show you on the tail wings. Okay, so I'm just kind of going along like that. I don't want to go in that panel line because I don't want to pull that paint out of it. And so that's all I'm doing, is I'm just going along beside it to clean that up. Now in doing so, you can see the panel itself becomes a little bit darker because I'm not really cleaning it, I'm just smearing around. I can wipe that down like this, but it's still, I don't know if you can tell on the camera that it may be a little bit, but this panel here is just a little bit darker gray than this one, right? But that's okay. So my panel is a little bit darker. That's quite alright. The whole idea is I get the lines cleaned up nice and crisp. Just like that. And I can go over other panels like this and I can kind of smear this around for what's on my brush, right? And there you go. So that's what I've got to do now, basically, for this whole plane. I want each and every one. I want to be careful with this one, because I do want to pull that grime. You see what I don't know if you just saw what I did there. As I soften up these lines and kind of smear them back and turn them into streaks. It's kind of, in a way, I'm shading in a kind of a weird way. And that's that. And that's pretty much the technique that I'm doing to soften up these lines. With one hand, I'm making the panel lines crisper, but these ones where I've done all these streaking, I'm softening the edges of them. And that's basically my technique for this. And so that way I get these streaks and I get like this engine smearing and stuff like that, and it's looking pretty good. It makes it look better. So anyway, I need to leave, and so that means I got to put this little project on hold for now, and I'll have to come back with a part. What part am I on right now? I think I'm on part 3. Is this part 3? I think so. So I'll have to come back with a part 4. But I'm going to have to take off. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. And we'll continue this next. Hopefully, we'll continue this next time. And we'll get this cleaned up a little bit. And then hit it with a nice flat clear coat. And seal in all that paint on there. And yeah, so you can see where I started to do a little bit better. This camera doesn't like to focus. Where I started to do some of that, and where I still have a lot of work to do, right? So yeah, that's where we are. So we'll continue all that next time. So I'm going to thank you all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming out. And yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, please head on over to my Twitch channel. On my Twitch channel at www.twitch.tv/duplicitous_29. Check me out there. Follow me on Twitch. I want to try and grow my Twitch brand, if you want to call it a brand at all. I would like to try and grow that a little bit better. That would be really nice and help me out a lot. If you would do that, follow me on Twitch. YouTube, of course, you know, Duplicitous29. If you want to see still pictures of my models that I've built in the past, I always upload once they're all finished on my Instagram. I got links down in the little thing down below there if you want to check them out. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to take off for now. And thanks again for watching, and we will see you all next time.